Ladies and gentlemen, Josh White here, HeroFront Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and all your support. I have some very exciting news for you, and this is my first ever 3-part series. In this special 3-part series, you heard that right, 3 different episodes released over the next 3 Wednesdays, with this being part 1. And it features an incredible badass named Major Kate Hewlett, who is a navigator, a pilot, and a multiple sclerosis survivor as an active duty member. Fly like a girl, defying the sky with strength. Major Kate Hewlett's battle against all odds. How did this young girl with aspirations of flying become a military spouse, a navigator, a pilot, and an active duty member with a current diagnosis of MS? Kate is an absolute warrior, and by the end of my conversation, I was left feeling inspired. And I'm thoroughly convinced there is nothing this woman can't do if she puts her mind to it. In part 1, we talk about the Pathway to Wings podcast, the Air Commando Journal, and Air Force Women in Leadership series mention, which is on YouTube, and I highly recommend you check it out. As you know, in this first episode, she goes through the Hero's Gauntlet, where we talk about her favorite quotes, who would play her in a movie, and of course, her proudest Air Force moment. In this first episode, we take it all the way back to Kate's childhood, to the spirit of the St. Louis Air Show and how that inspired her to fly one day, watching heroes like Patty Wagstaff, into her first flight lesson, and what it means when she hears the words, "Fly like a girl." We also talk about the many lives Kate has touched. You see, she is simply not satisfied with success on her own. She wants everyone around her to win as well, and she goes to incredible heights to make that happen. In each episode, Major Hewlett shares captivating anecdotes and heartfelt reflections, taking listeners on a roller coaster ride through the pivotal moments of her life. From the initial struggles and rejections faced during the process of being selected for officer training school, to the triumphant realization of her dream as she receives her Navigator wings, every step of her journey is filled with determination and perseverance. With unwavering honesty, she addresses the profound impact these events had on her and highlights the importance of mental health, resiliency, and the strength found in vulnerability. Listeners will also gain insight into Major Hewlett's life-altering diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, otherwise known as MS, the challenging medical board process, and her unwavering commitment to continue serving in the Air Force, a dream she's had since she was a child. She shares intimate details about her relationship with her esteemed physician, affectionately known as Dr. Badass, and discusses the hope, the determination, and the camaraderie that have fueled her drive to continue serving in the United States Air Force and hopefully as a pilot again one day. But you know, this series goes beyond her personal journey, exploring her dedication to creating the United States Air Force Multiple Sclerosis Support and Information Group, bridging the gap in information and providing much-needed support for those still serving with a diagnosis of MS. Additionally, she recounts her involvement in recruitment and advocacy events, inspiring young women through engagements with Girl Scouts, air shows, ROTC career days, and much more. And lastly, in our third part of our series, Major Hewlett opens up about her commitment to making every day count in the Air Force, knowing that her service could be abruptly altered due to her health condition. Through her involvement in the AFSOC Women's Initiative Team and Dagger Athena, she passionately advocates for diversity of thought, the importance of inclusivity, and the power of making a lasting impact on those around you. This thought-provoking 3-part series celebrates the indomitable human spirit and serves as a source of inspiration for individuals facing adversity in their own lives. Join Major Kate Hewlett as she shares her story of unwavering determination, hope, in the pursuit of her dreams at all odds. Let's get after it. All right, we're rocking and rolling now.
All right.
Everything's working. Okay, it's recording. That's recording. We're here. We're at Black Rifle. So this is working.
Perfect.
That's always a happy day for me because I can't tell you how many times I forgot something and have to drive my butt back to Eglin looking like a maniac coming through the gate.
Yeah. So we're winning today.
We're winning today. Yeah. Okay, and your go by name is Kate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who calls you Kathy? Does anyone call you that?
No.
No one calls you that? Because you would do what?
Hurt them.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
Katie's even worse. That's my no-go.
Katie's crossing the line.
Yeah.
So for any Katie out there, we're sorry that that's your name and you should start going by Kate.
Other people called Katie is great. I had a not great experience with a Katie when I was younger, and so just not my name.
Okay. Hey, I'm sure there's a story behind that. We can dig into that another time. But yeah, okay. So I have Major Kate Hewlett. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Yes. Yep. Just like Hewlett Packard.
That's what I thought. So when you said a lot of people get my name wrong, I thought, how? It's Hewlett Packard.
Yeah, you get Hewitt or all kinds of variations and spellings and stuff, and it's rare anyone gets it right. So,
do you have a call sign?
No, we don't do a ton of those in AFSOC, but it's some people earn them. Every now and then, our communities would, because my husband's also an aviator in our community, and so they would call us Himlet and Herlet or Helet and Shelet. When I went through pilot training, they called me Mom.
God.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's Kate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Call sign Mom. Watch out. She's coming.
They decided that it was either Manager of Morons because I was in charge of the class, or Mouth of a Marine, which both fit pretty well.
Which is why you gave me the cursing disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, at some point there's going to be a cuss word that's going to happen, and I just need to know my left-right limits.
Cursing's allowed. I just have to put explicit when I post the episode. Is this explicit, yes or no? And I'll just hit yes.
Yeah. Ahead of time, let's just say that's definitely where we're going to be at some point.
100%. That's what we're going to do. And they say people who cuss a lot are more honest. Would you agree with that?
I hope so, being that I cuss a lot. So I don't know. I think passionate and excited, and when I do get passionate and excited, the cuss words tend to start flying. So,
right. So Kate, I'm just going to say a little bit about you. You tell me if I got this right. Okay. So you are a MC 130P combat shadow pilot, a deputy director, secretariat of the AFSOC staff. Am I right so far?
Almost.
Okay. Because I'm going to be honest, I read secretariat. I said, what is that?
Yes.
That's so far beyond where I'm at. I don't even know what that word means.
So that part is correct. So I'm the deputy director of the Secretariat AFSOC staff, and that's very similar to SOCOM, or Special Operations Command, has a Secretariat joint staff, and so we're called SAS for short. But we're kind of a partner to the CAG, or the Commander's Action Group, where the CAG kind of messages AFSOC's intent and vision and goals up and out to the rest of the Air Force or the DoD or SOCOM. We are kind of responsible for messaging down and into the AFSOC force so they understand command intent and goals. And so that's my staff job right now. You mentioned being a pilot. So I'm an MC-130J Commando 2 pilot, but I was an MC-130P Combat Shadow Navigator. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it gets confusing.
I didn't know what the Navigator was until I looked into your unique path. And you were basically helping to navigate that particular plane, but that particular plane has since been retired.
Correct.
And then that led you to saying, well, how do I stay in a plane if that plane doesn't exist anymore? And you became a pilot.
Yep.
Who does that?
Yeah,
How do you
crazy
do
people.
that?
Yeah.
I thought you had to go to the academy to be a pilot.
No, definitely not. So about half of the pilot slots every year do go to academy grads, but you can still get pilot slots through Air Force ROTC and Officer Training School as well. And so those two entities and commissioning sources split the remainder of the pilot slots. The academy gets the other half. So you're
So it's just
more
a
likely.
greater chance.
Yes, yeah,
basically.
higher percentage possibility, but yeah, there's a lot of different paths to becoming a pilot for sure. And
Wow.
for me, I was active duty and applied and got picked up to go to pilot training. So there's a bunch of different ways to go.
And you kind of touched on a few of them from what I can tell. And I've never done that, so a lot of it's foreign to me, but it sounded like you did change routes or change courses a few times.
Yeah.
And then you're also married to a military member, so then
Correct.
that's kind of forced some changes as well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, very interesting stuff. But yeah, I read Secretariat. I thought, what the world is that? I don't know. I'm like, that's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
That's all I know when I read that.
Fancy staff job. Yeah.
And you're also a multiple sclerosis survivor. Should I say survivor? Is that the right way to say it?
So we call ourselves MS warriors.
Warriors, okay.
Yeah. So MS, there's currently no cure for it. So it's a degenerative disease that is currently there's no cure, and so everyone is living with MS that has been diagnosed and is being treated for it. So we call ourselves MS warriors.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not survivor because it's a lifelong battle.
Right. Yeah. It's not like a cancer survivor where
Right.
you've kind of battled and overcome cancer. It will be with you your entire life. So currently incurable.
Wow. Okay, and I read up on that as well because I've heard MS. I've heard that. I never knew what it meant. And from what I gathered, it's when your immune system attacks the protective sheath that covers the nerve fibers connected to your brain and spinal cord, causing multiple scars, open ports on there. So it's like this cord here that's protecting all these wires in the podcast equipment.
Yeah.
There's gaps in that cord throughout your nervous system that are like scars essentially that, scars don't go away. They stay there.
Right.
And so, for the average person who doesn't know much about that, first of all, I'm super proud of you for I can't believe like you're still serving with that. I've seen people, medically retired or separated for much less than that.
Certainly.
But yet here you are, you're living proof that, you can still keep a life. And so I'm really curious, like, we'll dive into that, but clearly you're an incredible person for all the things you've done, including having so many obstacles like this, and yet you're still here. So I'm super honored to have you on, truly. And I think there's something spiritual with podcasting because there's a lot of intent behind it. And I feel like our intent can impact our environment and what's to come.
Yes.
I've seen it firsthand many times. And case in point, how this is happening right now is because Dr. Badass, we're not going to use her real name because she doesn't want any credit because she's the most humble person on planet Earth. But Dr. Badass, I was with her in Israel. We got to have this incredible medical experience where we got to be embedded with the Israeli medics and do exercises with them. And then we got some time, downtime where we got to see Jerusalem, the Dead Sea, Masada, like just so much. I never thought I'd ever be there in a million years.
Yeah.
And I got a tattoo while I was there.
Nice.
At the world's oldest tattoo shop. It has the Guinness Book of World Records on the wall.
What a great story. Holy cow.
Right.
I mean, that's a tattoo you're going to treasure forever. That's amazing.
It is amazing. Thank you. But yeah, because of Dr. Badass, if I say it, I'm just going to bleep it out, okay? I'll go back and take it out. But because of Dr. Badass, I'm crossing her name out. I'm not even going to look at it. I don't want to see it. That's your doctor, and that happened to be the person that I was on this TDY with, right? And of course, I'm talking about the podcast because I'm editing it on our downtime when we don't have patients. What are you working on? Oh, I did this podcast, so I'm editing it because that was great time for me to catch up on stuff too. And people don't really know what to think of that. They're like, okay, a podcast, okay, what? Like who knows about it? Like they don't really understand like the scope might be massive.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it really sunk in for her until she's like, oh my God, like this friend of mine like knows about your podcast and saw our picture.
Yeah.
And I was like, told you. Told you.
Yeah, I think I was scrolling through Instagram and you had mentioned the TDY, and I saw a picture that you had posted, and I immediately texted her. Well, she and I had been chatting, so we've developed a very close friendship. I'm just wildly lucky to have her in my life in many aspects. But we were sitting there chatting, and I saw your post, and I messaged her. I was like, "Oh my God, you're famous! You know, I love this guy's podcast. I've been following him for a couple of years. Like, you should be on this podcast. You're an incredible doctor, and I think somebody that should be highlighted." And she's like, "No. You know, I don't like that kind of attention." I was like, "Well, we can go on together, and we can talk about." Our great relationship and what you've done for my life. And she's like, "Nope, but you should go on the podcast." And I said, if it helps someone, absolutely, I'll do it. But yeah, she's incredibly humble and just never wants any attention or credit. But I don't know where I'd be without her. She has just been such a massive force in my life for good in the midst of a lot of not great things happening. Right. So I'm wildly lucky to have her and feel very lucky that through her I was able to get to meet you and talk to you and get to know you.
Right. So like that's the miracle in the whole thing, right? Like we both know this incredible person who, I was blown away by her. I've never met anyone so on top of their stuff, so passionate, so dedicated. And such a strong work ethic. She just checked all the boxes. It's really rare to meet someone like that. And it was really cool because I'm public health, so I don't do patient care, but I had to learn it in that setting, right? Mm-hmm. So she was drilling us like every morning. Even one point, turn the lights off. We had to do it in the dark. We had to figure out where all the equipment was. Yeah. She's like, "Nah, if stuff goes down, it's gonna be dark." So she turned the lights off. We're like, "Oh my God, can I use my phone?" Well, yeah, you'll have your phone on you, right? So, but my point is, she's incredible. Yeah. I think she's a superhero of sorts.
Absolutely.
The way people depend on her, the things she's capable of. She's basically, in my eyes, a superhero. The closest thing to one.
Absolutely, and a true badass. So I met her when I was at Cannon Air Force Base, and out there she was a SOFMER, a Special Operations Forces medical element. So essentially a badass doctor, and she would go on these deployments with SOF troops in deployed locations and be their medic, and took care of all the SOF forces out at Cannon Air Force Base. So she's just a phenomenal professional and does everything she can to take care of her patients well above and beyond what would be expected from any medical provider. But I don't know how people go through what I'm going through without the access that I have, and how she is constantly there for me anytime I need anything. So she is absolutely my superhero for sure.
Wow. And then I got to know her personally. I got to learn about, her boyfriend, a lot about their relationship. I got to learn about the board games that they like to play. Yeah. She was like knitting at one point. She'd go for runs. She's just a very interesting person too. Yeah. So, Dr. Badass, I know you're gonna listen to this episode. I know you are. And right out the gate, we're already talking about how freaking badass you are. So, we both love you. We'll just leave it at that for now. Okay, so that's how this conversation's happening. Mm-hmm. But you were also featured on the Pathway to Wings podcast. Mm-hmm. Which I subscribe to that. It looked like they stopped making episodes, but there's still a lot there. Yeah. You're also featured in the Air Commando Journal. Mm-hmm. You have a whole article in there. And then I thought this was really cool, the Air Force Women in Leadership series on YouTube.
Yes.
Which it sounded like Chief Bass gives like the introduction to that series, like that voice in the beginning. Yeah,
so she recorded the intro and then was interviewed for it as well, and so she was a contributing member of that. So that was pretty cool because that started because of COVID. I was actually, there's a Department of the Air Force Women's Officer Forum on Facebook that is just this phenomenal resource. And a Gold Bar recruiter, Lieutenant Miragill, had posted on there that she was needing someone to come speak at a Gold Bar event in Missouri. I think she was in Knob Noster or close to Knob Noster. But I'm from Missouri, and so I was like, I totally want to come support this and go talk to some of these high school kids about joining the Air Force. And so the week before this thing was supposed to happen, COVID shut the country down, and you know, so the event was canceled. And so she and I were talking, like, how do we get this information, this message out there? Because it's still really important. And so it just kind of morphed from there that she had this great idea to convert it into a video series and then open it up to more than those who were going to be the guest speakers during it. So we pulled the Women's Officer Forum. We kind of jokingly call ourselves the Wolf Pack. And there were a bunch of ladies who stepped up and wanted to be a part of it. I had some great friends, Colonel Luke Choate and then Colonel Mike Manning, who went out and solicited other women to be a part of this as well. And so that's how we actually got Chief Bass involved. My good friend Mike Manning was with her at 2nd Air Force. And then Colonel Choate was with her once she transitioned to the Air Force. So both of them helped us out with that. And then getting General Blackwell. And so we just ended up getting a ton of amazing women and put it together. Captain Savannah Stevens edited the whole thing, and so it's a 5-part video series that you can find out there on YouTube that kind of feature the stories of women who are leaders within the Air Force and kind of sharing their path and adversity and advice and how they've grown, just to kind of message how great it is to be a leader and an officer and an NCO within the Air Force and all the great things it's brought to our lives.
Yeah, no, I was blown away by it. I hadn't seen it before. That was the first time I've seen it, and you know, I watched yours, and then I watched a lot of the other ones. I was like, wow, this is like amazing. You know what I mean? I absolutely love that, and I'm going to share that with everyone. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Absolutely. So many great stories out there.
There really is.
Yeah, there's just incredible leaders that we have in our military, and so it was an honor to get to highlight those ladies and show off all that they've done and what they bring to the mission.
Right, which is why I loved that, stuff like that, and what we're doing right now, because I can't tell you how many times I hear, oh, we should stop and have this talk, or we should do this, or we should do that. But, you know, sometimes the mission's very demanding, and that time never comes. Yeah. And, you know as well as I do that there's so many amazing people, amazing stories. You know, I want to do everything I can to capture that, you know, with the time that I have left in the service, and then afterwards we'll see how that looks.
Absolutely, and that's why I love your podcast. I mean, the variety of episodes that you have, and the different people on there. I'd say my one critique is that there are very few officers on there, and I think it's less a critique against you and more a critique against officers. And so I'm going to see what I can do to line up a few folks for you. But
no, I didn't even think of that, but I think you're right. And in all honesty, it's because I started with who I knew. So I started with with my dad. That's the first episode.
Yes.
You know, he was an Air Force officer. He swore me into the military.
36 years of service.
Yep. You know, you already know. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm a fan. Yeah. I've been watching, getting in on all of the episodes, and what you do is amazing. And I think highlighting those stories is incredible. And I think it was General Welsh who talked about, you know, every airman has a story, and just listening to the rich stories that you kind of highlight and bring out of people it's so inspiring, and it's brought a lot to me to listen to that and kind of find strength in a lot of the things that folks are either going through or have gone through, or the ways that they're contributing and making the Air Force better. And then you, and the fact that you're highlighting all of those and honoring people, and you know, I think you really do embody that servant leader that you're honoring and highlighting other people's stories, and I think that's amazing. So everyone go check out all those episodes because they're phenomenal.
I appreciate. I'm not used to hearing anything about me. So thank you for that. Thank you for taking the time to listen about all these amazing people and stories, and just your feedback. I mean, it means the world to me that you even listen to it. I mean, honestly. So that's amazing. Thank you for that.
It's fantastic, and thanks for doing it. I mean, those stories are incredible, and the amount of effort that you've had to put in. You know, and I'm learning firsthand the effort that you put into doing all of this. And to think of, I think there was something like 96 episodes or snippets on there. That's a huge amount of work that you're doing, and I know in some of the podcasts you've mentioned that's all on your personal time. So like during lunch or after work, or here we are on the weekend doing that, and that's, you know, that is a servant leader right there, honoring and highlighting other airmen and what they've done. So
yeah, that's my form of gratitude. And I talked on a few episodes where I never knew what gratitude was to me. I felt ashamed because I wasn't so grateful for things, or what to be grateful for, or what that really felt like. So I was always searching for that, and this is it. You know what I mean? Giving people that voice, and even like some of the highlight reels that I have, the videos
Yep.
where there's like dramatic music behind, but basically I'm trying to show them in how they would hope to see themselves, how they hope they're perceived.
Absolutely.
And trying to get that right. And when it does go right, it's like the best feeling ever. You know, it's like, wow, you know, that's out there forever for them now. They can show it to anyone. You know what I mean?
And I think you do an incredible job of it. So, you know, kudos to you.
Thank you.
You do amazing work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the Air Force, kudos to them for supporting me.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's probably pretty important to talk about and share what CSAF is doing to support the work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so there's Project Morpheus, which is about to be shot out everywhere. It's kind of laid low up until now, but they have a whole new strategy going into this next year. But essentially, their goal is it's a Vice Chief of Staff initiative to connect airmen in new, organic, and innovative ways. And so they've supported me through sending me to San Antonio, where I did all those live interviews.
Yes.
So they made that possible. Todd Simmons reserved the spot, and he's a retired command chief.
Yeah, and he paid for you guys to
have
those booths, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I don't know how much that is, but I know it's a lot.
It is not cheap. That's,
Right.
That's just so generous and speaks to the true belief and investment in the effort that you're doing it, and a lot of folks that are kind of finding kind of non-standard, non-traditional, unconventional ways to highlight the Air Force and all the amazing airmen in it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he made it possible, and then that Team Morpheus also made that possible, and then also AFSA has since. I'm like their podcast on their website. If you go to their website, and I might be invited to this next one in Dallas this August. So hopefully I'll be doing that whole week again, which was like the time of my life.
Yeah. I gotta figure out how I can sneak into those AFSA things. I don't know if it's illegal to like impersonate an enlisted airman, but I'm like, how do I sneak under the radar? Because I am jealous of all that goes on there and the development and the mentorship that happens at those conferences. It's pretty incredible.
Well, with your drive, I'm pretty sure you'll find a way to get there. I have no doubt that you can find a way to get there. But if you need a letter from me inviting you, I'll do it. She has to be there. I said so. They'll be like, who is that?
Right.
Josh White, HeroFront. You don't know? You better know.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
He's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, so as you know, we go into the 3 questions.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take your advice on those 3 questions because you there's some that you appreciated, let's say.
Yeah.
But then I had a few, not really difficult ones that I had for you anyways that you don't know about. Because, it's fun when you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm an over-preparer, but then in the moment, happy to do it live. So,
Right.
yeah.
And then I'll let you ask me one too.
Sure.
So we'll do that. I'll let you ask me at the end. And I only do that on my live ones typically. Okay, so question 1 for the Hero's Gauntlet. Your favorite quote.
Yeah, I've got 3, and I think it's funny is, I've been listening to your podcast and kind of listening to what a lot of folks have to say. I'm kind of a more is more person. I have no edit function. I have no ability to say, that's enough. Maybe I should do less or pull back. So of course I have not just one favorite quote, but 3. And so for me, it's I am a big Shakespeare nerd, like massive Shakespeare fan.
Oh, wow.
And so one of my favorites is from Hamlet, which is my all-time favorite play. And it's, if it be now, 'tis not to come. If it be not to come, it will be now. And if it be not now, yet it will come. The readiness is all. And so,
well, just like any other Shakespeare quote, please break that down for me because I have no idea what you just said.
Yeah, so it really speaks to it's a part of the speech where he kind of is talking about the special providence in the falling of a sparrow, and he's kind of getting ready to go meet his fate, and spoiler alert, Hamlet and everyone dies. That's kind of what Shakespeare does, kills everyone. Mm-hmm. So he's really kind of facing his moment of action, and so the whole play is Hamlet ever going to act? That's the whole, to be or not to be. Like he is just struggling with, am I going to go act? Am I going to go do this? And so this is kind of this culmination of this very dramatic play where he's really just realizing that there's a special divinity, there is fate, there is, a plan, whatever you want to call it. And what is going to happen is going to happen. And the only thing that you can do is just be ready for it, and take life as it comes at you. And again, kind of being an over planner and over preparer, it's one of those things that kind of resonates with me, that sometimes you got to let go and let God. And I'm terrible at that, but that kind of reminds me constantly that all you can do is be ready for what life brings to you.
Yeah, it's like you just have to be as ready as you can, and anything more than that is just your own torture that you're causing yourself.
Yes. Yeah,
I mean,
which I'm very
really.
good at doing. Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah, my wife will point that out with me too. She's like, this isn't a thing. Like, you're freaking out. You've made it a thing. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I could just stop caring about that, whatever. You know what I mean? So, like, sometimes we just torture ourselves.
Yeah.
And wow, as a someone who likes to plan everything out, that didn't happen.
No. And I think it's funny. I think that, as I was kind of thinking, when listening to your podcast, that's kind of, it was funny, the quotes where I was like, okay, these are kind of my 3 favorite quotes that, like, how much it speaks to my life, where, like, boy, did I have a plan for my life, and that's not how that happened.
But I gotta say, you roll with it.
I mean, what else are you going to do? Not get run over?
Yeah. Just give up?
Yeah.
Just take the easy route?
Yeah.
I mean, that happens. That happens 9 out of 10 times. That person would say, the hell with this. I'm just going to go with the flow, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think you're that 1 out of 10 where you find another route and you make it work. And not many people can do that. So you need to give yourself some credit for that.
I think it takes a special kind of, perseverance, stupidity, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, there's plenty of times where all I wanted to do was give up, but it just really never was an option, because I've always known what I wanted to do. And so I think that's why that quote kind of really resonates with me, is because I've known what I've wanted for my life. It's just been life has thrown a lot of kind of twists and turns and obstacles and barriers. And so all I can do is be ready for what life brings at me, but still keep working towards where I know I'm meant to be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right, quote number 2.
All right. So Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. And I know you've spoken a lot of times on your podcast about the why. And I think that is just a really great quote, especially as leaders, to understand that, like, if you can explain the why to someone, if you can get them inspired and invested, because they know what they're supporting, they'll do almost anything. They'll take on any burden. And I think that's a lot of what the military is, we know what we believe in. We know that we're here for the support and defense of our nation. And that is such an, like you mentioned, almost a spiritual thing to get to be a part of and know what you're supporting. And so, I can put up with a ton of stuff if I know and believe in what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so it's kind of incumbent on us as leaders to make sure that people understand their why, that they have that. And when you lose your why, to find it, because you can go through a lot of hurdles and obstacles, which I think is also what kind of helps me keep going. Because at the end of the day, I know what my whys are. My why is service in the military, service in the Air Force, service in AFSOC. And so it's made it so that I can go through a lot of really difficult challenges, because at the end of the day, I've always known where I was meant to be and what I was meant to be supporting and doing.
Wow. Yeah, you're definitely a go-getter.
I'm something.
I'm a late bloomer. So I spent the first 10 years not great. You know what I mean? Dealing with a lot of stuff, trying to find myself, trying to figure out. I had no purpose. I had no direction. I was just whatever, just trying to get through that day.
Yeah.
So I'm always jealous of stories like that. I'm proud of you, but I guess I'm thankful that I'm a late bloomer versus not a bloomer at all. But I see the power in, like, when it clicks early. I think anyone that's been in a while, when we see it click early for someone, we want to invest in that person, because, I mean, you to have that purpose and drive early on and keep it this whole time. That's impressive. And yeah, purpose is tied in with why, and that's what I'm all about. And I was just talking about this yesterday. We had like this senior NCO meeting, and we were talking about purpose. And I defined it as if I do a project, like there's a lot of things we have to do and things we want to do that we have to do, right? They can kind of overlap sometimes. But if I do something, I pour my heart and soul and energy in something, and I get nothing in return but exhaustion, that's probably not my purpose. But if I pour my heart, soul, and energy into something, but somehow feel energized, so, you know, in theory, I should be wore out. Like I just spent hours and hours doing these things, and yet at the end of it, I'm so fulfilled that I'm actually more energized, more confident, and more purposeful. If I feel like that, then I'll know that I'm on to something that I truly care about. So that's kind of how I see it, you know, and you know, airmen losing that flame, it's almost like you have to be that torchbearer for them. You know, the Olympic torch, and it's not supposed to go out. And you got to get it to the
eternal
end.
Flame.
You got to get it to the huge cauldron before, and not let it go out that whole run. That's kind of how they are from basic to tech school to their first base to their second base. They have to have that mentor, that torchbearer, to, you know, keep that purpose and the why on their minds, because they joined with that, right? They didn't join to not have a purpose. You know, it obviously started from something. So once that's lost, I think that's the biggest tragedy to me, when that flame goes out. And so I think that's an amazing quote.
Big fan.
And we all must be torchbearers. That's the other.
That's right.
That's the other takeaway. Be a torchbearer. Okay. Third quote.
So Martin Luther King Jr. said that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he is at in times of challenge and controversy. And again, it's funny, as I thought about these quotes, I was like, man, all three of these are just like, I never even thought about the fact that they're just so kind of what I've been through and what I've been experiencing. Because, you know, it's really in those challenging moments where you see what a person is really made of, and who they are and the occasion that they can rise to. And I think most people really do rise to a lot of challenges. You know, I think, you know, I can think of very few stories where someone has been faced with some sort of challenge or controversy and they've just kind of crumbled and withered away. I think most people do a really good job of meeting that challenge head on, but you can really tell a lot about a person if they're in that moment of that challenge and controversy. Where they go with it, what do they do? And so that always inspires me. Like it's not the times when my life is easy, or if I'm on the path that I thought I was supposed to be on, or things are going the way they're supposed to. It's, you know, in those moments where God is testing me, life is testing me, the Air Force is testing me, whatever the case may be. What am I going to do in that moment, and how am I going to handle it? That really kind of inspires me a lot.
No, that's beautiful, and I really admire how you've handled things. I can't tell you how many challenges I handled absolutely terribly. I mean, there's different kinds of challenges. You know what I mean? There's certain times where I'm like, wow, I actually really did good at that, and then there's other times where I'm like, wow, I really lost my. We're gonna curse now, so this will. I lost my
explicit.
shit.
Let's do it.
I lost my shit, and I, you know, potentially ruined something that could have been fixed because I. You know, and my wife will point this out afterwards. She's like she's helped me so much with like seeing things differently. But like, yeah, there's certain things that we're really good at, challenges, and there's other challenges that we just need to work on. But I think as long as you learn from it and you don't repeat it.
And
right?
that's the growth. And and I think, again, that's where you see the content of a person's character, not even necessarily how do they react, but what do they do with it? You know, we don't expect people to be perfect in every moment in their life. That's just not the human condition. But do you grow from it? Do you become a better person? You know, a lot of your story, I think, kind of speaks to just how amazing it is what you've been able to kind of grow from a lot of challenge and controversy in your life.
Definitely, and I appreciate that. With I call it a decade under the influence, but with the 10 years of the drinking problem that I had, and how that almost culminated into me losing my life with the heart virus. And then I still couldn't stop drinking. Like, that wasn't the rock bottom. You know, like,
I mean, that's addiction.
Right. Like, what was my rock bottom? Was it dying? Like, And so I never expected to be past my mid-30s realistically. And so every day from this point on is a blessing, because in my mind, I wasn't going to be here, but now I am here. I have a family. I'm a senior NCO, and I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah.
How did all that happen?
Yeah. And I think that's why you do what you do, is because, you I think you're grateful for every day. And so you find ways to contribute and keep giving back. And that's a beautiful thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You keep turning back on me. How are you doing that? How are you? You're hosting me. What's going on? Okay. Wow. We're in the thick of it, and we're only on question 2.
Yeah. I told you I'm an overdoer.
Well,
this might be an 8-part episode. I don't know.
that was the most notes I've ever received, I will say.
No one listening to this who knows me will be surprised by that in the slightest bit.
I usually have to guess a lot, but with you, there was no guessing. It was all there. It was all there.
Yeah.
Video references, article references. It was all there. I was very impressed.
Well, I mean, this is the first time we're meeting in person and really getting to know each other. And from what I can tell, your most successful podcasts have been with those that you're good friends with or worked extensively with, and you just have this great conversation. So, in my attempt for you to get to know me, I was hoping to provide a little information, and then I've been doing my research on you, and just hoping that we can have a great conversation. And it's great because right now, we've got these headphones on and these microphones, and but it feels like we're just good friends having a chat, which is awesome.
That's the beauty of the podcast, is we know each other before we know each other.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so question 2: who would play you in a movie? I'm really curious what this answer is going to be.
Again, being a total Shakespeare nerd, I first discovered Hamlet my sophomore year of high school, and my granny and grandma and my dog I had had throughout my entire childhood had all died within a year of each other. I was I was struggling with grief and what that looks like as a 15, 16-year-old kid in high school, and I discovered Hamlet, and it really kind of just spoke to me that everyone was kind of expecting him to get over the death of his father and be fine and move on, and no one was really understanding where he was at with that. And so that spoke to me significantly. And then watched Hamlet, the Kenneth Branagh version, because there is no other version that is adequate. That is the only one.
Okay, noted.
Don't even bother with the rest.
Got it.
And it's really cool because it is the entirety of Hamlet. And I think the only thing he changed is he shifted 2 speeches. He flipped 2 different speeches, and that's about it. Otherwise, it is very true to the work of Hamlet, and it's just beautiful, incredible. And I've been a massive Kenneth Branagh fan since then, and one day I'll marry him. But that's future life goals.
Have you said the actor yet, or no?
No. Again, I told you I'm an overdoer.
I wasn't sure if I missed a name in there. So you have not said the actor yet?
No.
Okay.
So within Hamlet, Ophelia was played by Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet. Okay.
Huge fan of hers.
Is she in Titanic?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank God I guessed that right.
Well done.
I was hoping you'd be like, what? How do you not know who that is? Okay, but it's the female lead in Titanic. That's Kate Winslet.
Yes. Yeah. So she's been in tons and tons of stuff, but I loved her as Ophelia in Hamlet, and I've always been a fan of her work. And so, I'd be honored to have her. And then Kerry Washington is one of my favorite actresses. I just was crazy about Scandal and absolutely loved her in that and everything she did.
Every movie she's in, everything she's in, she absolutely crushes it.
Yes, I love her attitude. I love her as a person, and she's stunning and gorgeous. And so, she'd be top of my list as well. And she's actually about to be in a Netflix movie produced by Tyler Perry about the 688s, which we I think we might get into a little bit later in this, kind of discussing some of that. But heads up, and I think they just started filming that in January of this year. So I'm not sure when it's going to be coming out, but yeah, her upcoming project is portraying a major in the 688s in World War II. It was the only all-black, all-female Army battalion, I believe, that solved this massive male crisis in World War II. So
holy cow.
Yeah,
that sounds really powerful. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Okay, no, those are excellent choices. Do you know my favorite actor?
No, who's that?
Tom Cruise.
It's a good choice. He's probably one of my top favorite. I mean, I was a massive Top Gun fan as a little kid, like just enamored.
Did you see
with
Maverick?
It. So good.
Oh my gosh.
my gosh. Yeah.
Sometimes I just pull it up on YouTube and just watch that last dogfight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm trying to remember, like 6-7 times I went to the theater to watch it. Like I couldn't get enough of it. Yeah.
I have a shirt. I have not shown this to anyone yet, but I'll show you after this. But it's a HeroFront shirt, but it's in the Top Gun style, and on the back is Maverick's helmet, and it says "Don't think, just do." I'm about to put that out to everyone because that shirt is just powerful.
Yeah. If you're gonna make those, take my money.
It's already there. I just haven't shown anyone. You'll be the first one to actually see it.
All right.
After
Sign
this,
me up. Take my money.
100%. Okay, but no, I love Tom Cruise because he's just so. He just brings to action movies. He just brings us such a special. He's just so good at what he does with action, specifically with like Mission Impossible, Top Gun, like those. He just absolutely crushes it.
Yeah. I mean, it's his passion, his dedication. The fact that he does his own stunts, I think shows his dedication to the work. And I remember when they were first talking about Maverick and how crazy it was, the delays they were doing because he wanted to actually film in the aircraft. And everyone's like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's not necessary, CGI. And holy cow, the difference that made in that movie, especially being a pilot. I was like, yes, like this is how you are supposed to show this. Because every military member, especially pilots, that watch movies that have to do with the military or flying, you're just sitting there like, that's not real. You wouldn't do that. But like, they were so great in everything they did. So yeah,
definitely,
he's amazing.
Absolutely, and it's even true to like when at that dogfight at the end. When he's locked on him and he does this maneuver where he throttles back and kind of like stalls it out. That's an actual like Russian maneuver. Yeah. It's like named after a Russian guy. That's a real way to dodge something. Yeah. I was like, even that wild thing was, you know, I had to research it. I was like, wow, even that's real?
He knows his shit.
And there's age equipment in there. Remember that?
Yes. Yeah. I knew you'd love that.
Yes, and I checked the age page after that, and sure enough, they were like, "Oh my god!" Someone took a picture of their screen, like, "There's age equipment in Maverick! Oh my god, Dinstar!" Danger is no stranger to an age ranger. Has to do with like the age guys in Vietnam. Okay, they were actually armed because they were getting pot shots at them as they were trying to hook up the age equipment, and so they were armed. So they had one person guarding the other age guy. That's awesome. So that's where the age ranger and Dinstar, term comes from.
Very cool. I'm gonna have to look that up. Read more into it.
Absolutely. Okay. Proudest Air Force moment. I feel like you'd have a lot, but if you have to pick one, what would that be?
Again, I've got 3 for you, but I'll go through them real quickly. Recently I went and did the Spirit of St. Louis air show. It was the air show I grew up going to as a little kid. It's what, made me want to be a pilot. It's where I realized I could be a pilot when I saw acts like Patty Wagstaff, getting to see her fly. And so I know what that brought to me into my life. And so in 2019, I was lucky enough I got to fly in that air show, like literal dream come true, flying in the air show that made me want to fly.
That's a wild moment.
Yes.
A full circle, once in a lifetime spiritual moment.
Yes.
You were a kid. It's almost like the two are so connected. It's like meant to be. That you were a kid down there looking at the planes that you're now in. It's almost like they're connected somehow spiritually. Yeah, and it's I can't overstate the importance and role of air shows in the lives of our young individuals, seeing what they can be, and getting to watch acts like the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds and Patty Wagstaff. I knew what I wanted to be in that moment, and seeing Patty Wagstaff, because frequently told I couldn't do something because I was a girl, not by my parents, but definitely not by my parents, but by just people who just don't know. And so getting to see a woman who was not only an amazing air show pilot, she was like one of the absolute best. And then this last year was my 40th birthday, and my husband got me
aerobatic flight lessons with Patty Wagstaff.
No, wait, what?
Yes,
Wait, did that happen?
it happened. Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. So we.
What does that even? What is aerobatic? What is that?
So, I mean, a lot of the stuff that you saw in Top Gun, where they're kind of doing maneuvers, a lot of that comes from aerobatics. So everything you see in the air shows where they're doing loops and barrel rolls and hammerhead stalls and tumbles and all those things, that's aerobatics. It's kind of max performing the aircraft and maneuvering it. And so she has a flight school where she teaches like flight safety and
so she's still doing this stuff.
Yes, so she's still doing air shows.
Wow.
She's teaching a ton of lessons in these, and so I got to go out and, my husband told me about this, and I just absolutely like melted down, just crying like an idiot. We pulled up to the hangar, and she's outside at her aircraft, and I was like, I need a minute, and I just sat there and cried like a moron. I was like, I cannot believe like Patty Wagstaff is like right there.
I mean, that had to have meant a lot to her too, that you were this, little girl at one point watching her, and now you're a pilot. I mean,
yeah.
Did that touch her?
I think so. So like my very last flight I did with her, she went through essentially her entire air show routine and just did all of the maneuvers. So I've been flying and learning a lot of the stuff and doing it myself, which I've done some of it in Air Force flight training. But there were certain things like hammerhead stalls and stuff that I'd never done that I've always been like, oh my gosh, I have to go do that.
Stuff that you're not allowed to do.
Yes, yeah, because the aircraft needs to be specifically
Right.
designed to do some of those things, and really just for students, not necessarily important to teach some of those maneuvers.
So this is cool for even an experienced pilot to be like, oh, I get to try this.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's like riding a roller coaster. So it's incredibly fun to do anyway.
Wow.
Just like, positive G-forces and the negative G-forces and just flipping all over the place. So it's such a blast to get to do. And then my very last flight with her, we had a little bit of transit time because we were flying over to the coast to do a little bit of a coastal run. And so, I really just took the time to be like, I need you to know what you've been in my life and what you've done for me and why I am here. And I am a pilot because of getting to see you. Because in seeing you, I suddenly realized what I could be. I knew what I wanted to be, but I think it's hard for those who haven't been told they can't do something based on gender, that this would be a barrier. But in seeing her, I realized that I could be a pilot. And so when people were telling me, no, you can't, I knew that I could. And again, lucky that I had my dad, who at that Spirit of St. Louis Air Show bought me my first flying lesson. I was 7th grade, and they decided that was the Christmas gift. And so I took my very first flight lesson at the Spirit of St. Louis airport and got off the first flight and walked up to my parents, and I said, I'll have you know we will be doing this again. And so it was downhill from there.
Or uphill.
Yeah, it was. Yes, quite the uphill battle. But it was solidified for me, and it was because of seeing people like Patty Wagstaff. And so getting to go and fly in that air show and hopefully inspire other young men and ladies to pursue this was just an absolute dream come true. So I got to go and fly my MC-130J Commando 2. We did an aerial pass demonstrating one of our capabilities, which is aerial refueling. And we can refuel fighter aircraft. It's one of the ones that we can refuel. And so we did a flyover with an E-18 that had been designed and produced in St. Louis, Missouri. And so getting to show that for my hometown crowd, and the organizers of the event just were phenomenal and honored me, and are now very, very good friends of mine. Phil and Laura Bissonette and their whole crew, they're phenomenal individuals who just are truly passionate about what air shows do for our community. And so they asked me and my husband to come back just this last summer. My husband's a T1 instructor pilot at NAS Pensacola, where they teach our Navigator students, or combat systems officers. And so he brought his T1 aircraft out to show the crowd. And so I went along to, again, try and help recruit and represent and show, especially young ladies, that you can be a pilot. And They had us come to this event. They're huge into STEM. And so they did a STEM night where they had the Blue Angels come in and do a dinner with a bunch of the STEM students in St. Louis high schools. And there was a group of students who were a part of the Red Tail Academy in St. Louis. Crazy amazing story if you guys Google it and look it up. But they started it to kind of change the conversation. I know you're a little bit familiar with Missouri, but Ferguson, Missouri, it's a really rough part of St. Louis. And so they went to those schools and interviewed a bunch of students who might be interested in aviation and kind of put them through this like rigorous selection process, and then selected them to be a part of this aviation academy to learn how to fly. And so they get to solo. Like one of the students ended up getting a scholarship to get his private pilot's license. Like these are some of the most incredible, motivated, focused people I've ever met in my life. And they're sophomore, junior, senior high school students.
Wow.
So blown away by them. And one of the groups I'm involved in, the Department of the Air Force Women's Initiatives team, or the DAF-WIT, they do some really cool swag, and one of them are these stickers that say "Fly like a girl."
I've seen that.
Yeah, and they did a great job because they went to the manufacturer and said, "Hey, can we maybe get some diversity in here and kind of do some a variety so that everyone can kind of see themselves in this?" And the manufacturer at first was like, "Oh, I don't know that those will sell," and they're like, "Trust us." And so they went ahead and they produced all these stickers and patches, and they sell like hotcakes. Like they're just super popular.
I think they have an Instagram page or something. I've seen that online frequently popping up.
It's shared a ton, and a lot of the women in the Air Force are sporting these patches. I've actually got some in my car. I'll be happy to give you some on the way home.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, so again, meeting these students, they're amazing. And so I ran up to my hotel room because I brought a bunch of these patches and stickers with me. And one of the ones that they did was a black girl in this Fly Like a Girl patch. And I came down and I gave the patches and stickers to these girls. And it was cool at first because they were like, "Oh, that's so cool, I get a patch." And then to see their face light up when they realized that patch, that was them. Like that looked like them. And one of the guys said to one of the girls, "Oh, that's so cool. That looks like you." And she goes, "No, that is me." And
oh my gosh.
It was just
wow.
the most beautiful moment to watch. Because it's hard to be what you can't see. And the fact that in that moment she's like, "No, this is who I am," was just bursting with pride, and pride in the women who kind of pushed the envelope with the sticker and said, "You know what, there is a need for this," and advocated for it. Jessica Ruttenberg runs a lot of the swag that they have. It's a nonprofit group that they've set up for this, where the donations actually go towards funding minority, underrepresented female groups to get to do things like flying lessons or scholarships or things like that. And so it's such a great group, and amazing for them to recognize how important that was, and then for me to get to witness the impact of that firsthand with someone who was just clearly, she's going to go out and slay the world. Like she's just, they're going to move mountains. So
that's amazing.
Incredibly proud moment.
I love that. Like you're not satisfied with your own success. You want to see others succeed too. Yeah. Especially with the stuff that you've struggled with or that you've seen others struggle with. You make it a point to give them a voice. You put in a lot of energy to that. So I just think you're incredible for doing that. No one's asking you to do this stuff, but yet you put so much time into highlighting others as well that I just think it's a beautiful thing. I'm big on diversity and inclusion as well. It's a huge thing in our hospital now too. There's a new committee for it, but just having those talks, hearing other insights, hearing other perspectives, and hearing other challenges that I didn't know existed has really opened my eyes and opened my heart to so many people that, are in my med group that, we need to keep doing stuff like that. We need to keep feeling that love and that connection, and it's healing and empowering.
Absolutely. And from that human perspective for sure, but also if, we're just talking about like a readiness perspective, we're facing significant pacing and competition challenges from our peer and near peer adversaries who want to do harm to America, our allies, and our way of life. And when you are facing a challenge that significant that threatens democracy and our republic, you cannot afford to leave any talent on the sideline. I don't care what it looks like. And so we kind of need to recognize the barriers that are potentially preventing people from joining the military or contributing to that fight in defense of our nation, and find ways to remove those barriers. And so that's one of the things we're super passionate about, is making sure that we're getting after readiness, and we know that is through the talent of our airmen, our air commandos, everyone in the military, that's what is going to contribute to the defense of our nation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Keep doing that. And yes, if you got extra after this,
I do. Yeah.
I would love to have one.
Absolutely.
And my kiddos love collecting them now too, because they're like, "What's that? What do you have this coin? What's this patch?" So it's been fun getting them involved too.
Yeah.
They oftentimes steal my coins off my coin rack.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah.
Okay. So the few I was going to ask you.
Okay, real quickly, because I've got two more quick proud moments. Because
my bad.
You're good.
My bad.
I know we're like 45 minutes into the answer to one question, but and so these are just ones that I really do want to highlight and honor. Because one is a loadmaster that I had. We went on a TDY, and we ended up. I think we started out by going to the CISO school, so the Navigator school, doing a career day, and then we did a flyover of the academy. And he was kind of talking about the fact that he was thinking about applying to go to the academy and then commission as an officer. And so he and I talked a bunch on that trip, and I said, the answer is no unless you ask. Like, why would you not ask the question? Apply for it. Go for it. See what happens. And he did, and he ended up getting picked up.
Wow.
And so it was really great that he came back and said, look, I don't know that I would have applied if you hadn't said that I should do it, that you didn't act like it was stupid or silly for me to even think that I can do this. And so getting to see that investment kind of pay off. And he is a senior at the academy this year, and so he should be commissioning
amazing.
very shortly here. And then, I told you I was on my way back from Montgomery today. I was just up there for a couple reasons. But one of them was to see two airmen commission into the Air Force. And so one was another loadmaster, Lieutenant Mike Brown, who just commissioned 2 days ago, and he's going to go be an intel officer, 19 years in the Air Force.
Holy cow.
And he commissioned as a second lieutenant.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and he's going to go do amazing things in the intel career field, and so incredibly proud to be there and see him commission with his family. And then the other individual was now Lieutenant Quincy Brayton, who I discovered through Facebook. There's a U.S. Air Force commissioning mentorship page, and then there's kind of a sub kind of spin-off pages where they'll do ones for the rated boards. And so he had posted on there, and I think at some point he had mentioned he was an MC-130J crew chief and looking to commission. And so immediately I was like, ooh, let me learn more about him. And so did a little bit of Facebook stalking and realized there's a lot of people who say they want something, but there's not a lot of people who are going to put in the time and effort to do it. And I saw he had gone and gotten his bachelor's, he went and got his private pilot's license, he got his instrument rating, and he got his RPA rating. Like,
wow.
He clearly put in the effort and the energy. I'm like, all right, this is the guy I want to invest in. And so me and, again, my friend, Colonel Mike Manning, helped him out with his application. So he sent us what he was doing. Colonel Manning has kind of helped a bunch of people. I've applied for OTS, and Colonel Manning was actually my flight commander at Officer Training School. So we have a big investment in OTS. And so we reviewed his package and kind of helped kind of mold it and help him get it submitted. And he got picked up and selected to be an RPA pilot. And then the last 2 days we got to go out and watch him not only commission as a second lieutenant in the Air Force, but also he was the commander of troops for the entire formation. So they did their graduation parade. He led the whole thing. And it was just, and I love me a good military parade. Like, I was a marching band kid. It's, everything I love, and I just seeing him out front leading was just beaming with pride in that, and just beaming in pride in knowing the officer he's going to be and what he's going to do to take care of his airmen. Because as soon as he got selected, he said to me and my friend Colonel Manning, how can I thank you guys? And we said, pay it forward, help other people, keep doing this. And boy, did he. Like, he immediately jumped in. He is incredibly active on the page, like helping tons of people with their application. He's become an admin for the Rated spinoff page. And so people will go to him. He did some sort of, he did a FaceTime type how-to, where you kind of talk through all of the, the ins and outs, what the board's looking for, like what kind of scores, like how can you mold yours, and just to watch the feedback that he received and the way he ran with it, and is now helping tons of other airmen and civilians who are hopeful officers get to apply, and supporting them. I mean, man. Like,
that's amazing.
What a leader from day one, and so just incredibly proud of all of these people. That young lady at the Spirit of St. Louis Air Show. We call him Christmas, as my other loadmaster, Chris Misclevitz, who's about to graduate from the academy. Lieutenant Mike Brown, and now Lieutenant Quincy Brayton. Just getting to see your investment pay off is pretty incredible.
The legacy that you're already leaving behind is just insane.
But that's what you're supposed to do as an officer. Like that is the entire purpose of why we're here, is to invest in our airmen, and the ripple effects are incredible. And I think, again, with what you're doing, the fact that you're investing in all these airmen and then they're going to go and invest in everyone else is huge. I mean, that's what we're here for.
Right. I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I have not seen many do what you've done. So I still want to say you're doing amazing things. Like, even with the standard of officers and what's expected, you are just light years beyond that with the love and care that you've poured into these people, and to see them doing such amazing things firsthand. Yeah. I mean, to see the end product. We don't often get to see the end product.
Yeah, that's a blessing.
You've seen it, so that's just that had to have just touched your heart.
Yeah, just absolutely bursting with pride to see that, and all the things that they're going to do in their career, all the great ways that they're going to impact other people's lives. It's, there is no higher calling and no better gift within the military, I think, than to invest in your people and to watch them go and conquer the world.
Definitely. Yeah, that's amazing. All right. Do you want to ask me one?
Yeah. So I think you asked a really great question on one of your episodes, which was really interesting. It had Dariel Santos on there, who's one of the people who's on my AFSOC Women's Initiatives team. And I think in that you had asked, and it might not have been that episode, but I think it was, where you asked if there was any job in the Air Force, what would you choose to do? And I know you're kind of like looking at retirement. I'm going to try and find ways to fully sabotage that. But if you could go back, like what role or position or job would you choose to do? Because you've done a couple now.
Right. Yes, I've been age. Mm-hmm. I've been a group commander exec. I've done military funeral honors for Missouri.
Yep.
And I've also am currently public health.
Yeah.
Wow, I'd say initially before I joined, I wanted to be Maverick.
Yeah. You still can. Go call Patty Wagstaff.
Right. But in all honesty, when I saw, because I have the same kind of upbringing as you, like I lived on Andrews Air Force Base.
Yeah.
And so I got to go to all the Andrews Air Force Base air shows with my dad. And I saw the Blue Angels, and I saw the Thunderbirds, and I bought the balloons that you blow up, the inflatable. Yes. Yeah. And to see them go like what looked like space,
yeah,
and I think there's a person in that, I was like, dude, I want to do that. So I think I definitely wanted that. I was in a rock band once. I was a pro gamer.
You've done it all, man.
Those two. So Air Force gaming, I tried to make that a thing.
Yeah.
I tried to do that, and I got laughed out the room. Now it's a thing.
It's a huge thing. Holy cow. Like, that has taken off.
Yeah, so as corny as it sounds, to lead the charge on Air Force gaming, if I could have been a part of that at that time of my life, I think I would have been in heaven. I love the path that I took anyways, though. You know what I mean? Like it's all come to fruition. But fighter pilot, screamo lead singer. I was in the band Faded Memories in Guam.
Yes. Such a great name for a band. Holy cow.
Faded Memories. Yeah, I named it that. That was my idea.
That's awesome.
Because
I'll tell you, the best name that I think for a rock band, and nobody steal this from me because one day I might make it big, is in learning in CISO school or Navigator school, you learn about a lot of the threats out there. And I've always thought that the name Laser Beam Rider would be like the best name for a rock band. And maybe that's the nerdy Navigator in me, but I was like, that's an awesome name.
Laser Beam Rider. I'm going to make a cover art for that.
Please do. Yeah.
No, I love that. No, but flash forward to now, if I could just pick a job now and you were to just keep me in, just Josh White just stays in the military, it would be to be an official teammate of Project Morpheus at the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Because they have a podcast studio there.
Yeah.
And so that's one officer and 2 enlisted. I did apply. I didn't get it because Chad Hardesty got it, who is in. If I was going to not get picked, it's to this person because he's incredible. He does amazing things. He's a very unique airman with incredible experiences. And I click with him like no other. And so I'll be helping him with Morpheus from afar.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if they could just bring me on as their podcaster and create that spot, which I've hinted at many times.
Yeah. Let's do it. Y'all heard it here today.
That would do it for me.
Yeah.
100%. That would do it for me.
Yeah. I think you'd be phenomenal at it. I mean, it's the work that you do now with the platform you have, how many people you reach and how many lives you are able to affect is huge. And so to be on that platform. So Major Hewlett supports you in this.
I appreciate that. You know, anyone at the Pentagon, just drop that bug in their ear. You know what I'm saying? Be like, hey, this is the game changer that we need.
There you go.
Really sell it to them.
Yep.
Because I tried, and so far I got working from home to help. But we're close. The foot's in the door now.
Hey, yeah.
You know what I mean? The foot is in the door.
There you go. I'll write a few emails when I get home.
Yes,
throw them out around my 04 rank.
Throw it around. Use it.
Like 04s are like snackos, if that, at the Pentagon.
Right. You're not lying. I went to the Pentagon. I was like, bro, how am I a master sergeant in the lowest ranking in this whole building? How?
Yeah.
Okay, so my last question to you, the random one. I was just curious what HeroFront episode or topic most spoke to you that you're like, man, that was great. Was there a certain person or topic?
Yeah. Man, there were some really good ones. The one is General Goldfein was really great. Hearing more about his rescue, which I've always been really interested in, because after he was rescued and pulled out by helos, he actually ended up boarding an MC-130P Combat Shadow from the 67th SOS at RAF Mildenhall. So, you know, that rescue is a part of the heritage and the history of my lineage within Air Force Special Operations Command. And so getting to hear him talk about that was great. And everything he had to say about the spouses was phenomenal. I know he and his wife just advocated fiercely for it. The spouses that we have on our AFSOC Women's Initiatives team are some of our most engaged, hardworking, incredible spouses and team members. And so I loved the episode you did with him, but that's an easy favorite. He's also a favorite of mine anyway. I had the opportunity to meet him once when he came down and did the Medal of Honor ceremony down here at Hurlburt. And one of my dear friends, Major Rose Chapman, was the girlfriend of Matt Rowland, who's a CCT airman who was killed in Afghanistan. And General Goldfein was there when he was kind of brought back stateside, and Rose was there with him. And General Goldfein made her feel like she was, you know, important and mattered, because as a girlfriend, you don't have the same rights that you would have as a spouse. And so she said he really just made her feel like her grief was valid, like, you know, she was a part of all of this. And that is the bracelet he wears, which is the bracelet that I wear, which is Captain Matt Rowland. And so got to take this great picture with him after talking to him. Good friends with the Rowland family too. Erica Rowland, who is Matt's sister, was out for it. And got to talk to him and take this great picture of us both sporting our bracelets together.
Wow.
And then I accosted him at the AFA last year and asked him about his bracelet, and he was just like wonderful and gracious about the whole thing. And I'm a huge fan of him. Everything he did with Chief Wright, they're just an amazing team and did so many good things for us in the Air Force. And then I think the Todd Simmons episode, I think, was really the most recent one you had, which was just a few episodes ago.
Yes.
Was really good. And I loved what he said, like in his retirement, like he gets excited about stuff and takes on too many things and has too many projects. And that really resonated with me because, I think kind of theme of today is I'm a bit extra, I'm a bit too much. And
I'm extra too, so you're in good company.
Yeah, I do that too, and I get that energy, and I take on too much. And so it was kind of nice to hear someone who I've really respected as a senior enlisted leader say that they're that way too, because you see a lot of leaders, and they're so good at managing their schedules or their time, or having healthy boundaries and saying no, which none of these things I'm good at. And to hear him talk about that was great. And then the whole episode was really, really good and inspiring. So I think that's probably my absolute favorite one that you've done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I that happened because I said, it's been too long since I talked to Todd.
Yeah.
Like, when can we do this?
Yeah.
Just we didn't even plan it. We just said, okay, next week, this time, no topics, we just went with it. I think the only topic was like being an entrepreneur, and that was it.
Yeah.
But we talked about a million things in that episode. But I think Todd, to me, is such a good Air Force success story in that he's been through so much. He had so many barriers. He was in such a low place, but he achieved so much. And then, but not just that. Then he really brought a lot of light to that post-retirement life. A lot of people get really depressed and down and isolated when they lose their whole community.
Yeah, you lose your why.
He really brought that to light, and I noticed since he's brought that to light, it's been talked about now more than I've ever seen.
Yeah. And
I think he's a big part of that. Why it's a focus now.
You'll see that post-retirement and post-command. A lot of commanders, will kind of lose their why because they've been doing this thing where they're taking care of their airmen. I'm sure the same is true for first sergeants, SELs, that like you kind of lose that sense of purpose. So yeah, I think that's incredibly important to discuss. So I loved everything he had to say. That was a great episode.
Yes, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I'll let them know that was your favorite.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
All right, so we have 3 topics here.
Yeah.
First topic, journey to commissioning. Second topic, diagnosed with MS. And the third topic, making each day count. So these all kind of play into your story. They all kind of have a little bit of overlap.
Yeah.
But with the journey to commissioning, it sounded like you heard no a lot. You hit a lot of roadblocks. And so I was hoping you could just start us off with your journey to commissioning and how you battled hearing no constantly.
Yeah.
Wow, what an incredible discussion. And the amazing thing is we're just getting started, y'all. I know you love learning about Kate. Ever since I met her, we've just been great friends. She's an incredible person. I'm blessed to have her in my life. And I highly encourage you to come back next Wednesday and check out part 2. It gets a little emotional. It gets a little tough. But we talk through some pretty serious things that frankly need to be talked about a little bit more. And I'm super proud to call Kate my friend. I'm super proud of her vulnerability, and I will see you next Wednesday for part 2 out of our 3-part series. Let's get after it.